Okay, so on the long list of trades for the day, the next one that we have is the Bowen Byram trade. So, Bowen Byram, let me read the trade first. The Chicago Blackhawks acquired defenseman Bowen Byram and center Jordan Greenway from the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for a 2026 first round pick, which is the fourth overall pick in this year's draft, and a 2022 second round pick, which is 45th overall pick. That's from the New York Islanders, and defenseman Louis Crevier, 25 years old. Let's talk about Bowen Byram first. So Bowen Byram was the first defenseman taken off the board in 2019. The 2019 draft, obviously Jack Hughes first overall, Capo Caco second, you know, fourth Bowen Byram to the Colorado Avalanche too. Um, the Colorado Avalanche got a really good prospect at the time. And a lot of people were like, wow, Chicago has Cam Makar, who was very young at the time. He was only 2 years drafted since then. And now they have Bowen Byram. This is going to be an elite decor for years, especially now that they have they picked up Devon Taves, I believe, at a little bit later date. They had Samuel Girard from the Matt Duchene trade. Um, so this is looking like a great decor, and I will spoil it. The decor was great. Unfortunately, Bowen Byram was not a part of the great decor for many years. We'll talk about that. But the fourth overall pick got to Colorado as a part of the Matt Duchene trade. They got a first round pick in the draft, and Ottawa was terrible the year that that pick was coming up. So they had the fourth overall pick, and they took Bowen Byram. He struggled in Colorado. Let's just say it as it is. Let's just be honest about it. He wasn't great. He had a max points in the 22-23 season of 24 points. Now, he did win a Stanley Cup with Colorado. That is the good thing about it. Didn't play all that much that year with them, but he was still in the lineup during the playoffs and everything like that. But he never hit his full stride, and they decided to make a move, and they traded him 1-for-1 with Casey Middlestad, who is also no longer on the Colorado Avalanche. But he got traded to Buffalo, and he instantly hit it off. In his first 18 games with them after being traded at the deadline, in 18 games played, he had 9 points. That was like the best pace that he had since the 22-23 season. Unfortunately, that season he only played 42 games. His first full season in Buffalo, he had 82 games played, which is something that he had never even come close to playing in Colorado. His most games played in a single season was 42, which was that season he had 24 points in. But 82 games played in the 24-25 season, 7 goals, 31 assists, 38 points. And he played 22 minutes and 42 seconds of ice time, which was second on the team in defensemen. This past season, the 25-26 season, he took another step. He took another jump. And he played 82 games played. So back-to-back seasons of perfect health. 11 goals, 31 assists, 42 points. So more growth there. 22 minutes and 20 seconds of ice time. So about relatively the same, 22 seconds less, third on the team. He's a very good young defenseman. Let's just say it as it is. He's a very good young defenseman, 25 years old. He's been a staple in Buffalo the last 2 years. He's a part of the reason why Buffalo made the playoffs this year for the first time since 2010, since they broke the streak, and made my New York Jets now the longest playoff drought in professional sports history. But what are you going to do? That's life. What are you going to do? That's a different sport. But he's a very good player, and I understand why Chicago is like, this is a guy that we can kind of bring in, and he could be a part of our future. He already is an established young defenseman who's had back-to-back great seasons. We really like him. They also pick up Jordan Greenway in this deal, and Jordan Greenway, nothing all that special. He's making about 4 mil for the next year. I don't know if he'll even be on Chicago after this season. 34 games played in the 24-25 season, only 3 goals, 8 points, 100 hits, though. So a lot of hits that year. This season, only 40 games played, 1 goal, 6 points. He's nothing really special. This is just kind of a cap dump for Buffalo. And maybe Chicago can view him as being a good fourth liner that can give him physical minutes, if that makes sense. But Chicago is acquiring a very good young defenseman who's starting to reach his prime. And for a team like Chicago, who is trying to turn this around quick because they have one of the best young stars in the game in Connor Bedard on their team, who they have to sign to a big boy contract. He's a restricted free agent this offseason. They said, well, we need to bring in an elite defenseman, you know? They bring in Bowen Byram, and you can argue if he's a elite or not, but what he is he's very good. And I've said that 10 times already, but he's a very good defenseman. The problem is what they gave up. They gave up the fourth overall pick. Now, it is funny, Bowen Byram was a fourth overall pick, and they trade a fourth overall pick for a former fourth overall pick. But that's not the point. The point is that in the year 2026, is Bowen Byram worth a fourth overall pick? Not right now, he isn't. Very much not right now. We talked about it in the William Eklund trade about how William Eklund is not valuable enough to be worth a ninth overall pick. Now, one day he could because he's still 23. Similar kind of applies for Bowen Byram, but not really. Bowen Byram could be worth a fourth overall pick in 3 years from now, 2 years from now. But the problem is that the fourth overall pick is a supreme pick. That is an elite pick. When you pick fourth overall, you're expected to draft a superstar. Maybe not a superstar. That's reserved for first and second overall picks. But you're expected to draft an elite player who will be a cornerstone of your franchise. And I'm not saying Bowen Byram can't be that for this decor. I'm just saying that Bowen Byram is not worth a fourth overall pick in the year 2026. He is definitely worth the first round pick. You can even make an argument he's worth multiple first round picks. But Buffalo is acquiring an elite pick that whether Buffalo uses it or they trade it, they will get an elite player for it, is what the expectation is, whether it's a trade or a draft pick. It could be a defenseman. It could be Chase Reed. Who knows? I feel like Chicago could have gotten Bowen Byram for less value. They also gave up the 45th overall pick. Now, that's a lesser value pick. That's a mid first or mid second round pick. But they gave up a fourth overall pick. They gave up an elite player for a very good player who could be elite. It's a good trade for Chicago in the sense of that they got a very good defenseman to take a step closer to the playoffs on a team that cannot be wasting Connor Bedard's career. Even though Connor Bedard's only 3 years in, we're not even close to wasting it. But again, Chicago can't miss the playoffs for the next 3 years and expect Connor Bedard to be happy in Chicago. That's just not how it works. But they didn't need to give up a fourth overall pick. They didn't. I'm not sure what the Bowen Byram market was for other teams, but they didn't need to give up a fourth overall pick. I think that they overpaid for Bowen Byram and Jordan Greenway. Also, another fact in this trade is Luis Crevier, who is a 25-year-old defenseman. He's making $900,000 for the next year. He had a very good year this year. Now, he is predominantly a depth player. You know, prior to this season, his max games played in a single season was 32 in the NHL, which was last season, where he only had 4 points. This year, it was kind of a decent year for him. 78 games played, 25 points. I mean, he did have 63 penalty minutes, which is a decent amount, but still, he played like a legit NHLer this year. And you could make an argument that he is a bottom pair that could be a top four. Now, obviously, seventh round pick in 2020, played a total of 56 NHL games with a total of 7 points prior to this year, was playing games in the AHL last year. This is just a weird year where he got 25 points on a bad team. And the answer to that question is he going to be good or not? I don't know. Probably not. He probably won't be anything special, but they gave up a roster player who will probably be a bottom pair defenseman for Buffalo this year for a top four defenseman, maybe arguably a top pair defenseman. So Louis Crevier has value. Like it's not just a throw in. Like I think some people will view this as Louis Crevier being just a throw in into the deal so that Buffalo can get a player back. No, I honestly think Buffalo's getting a roster player here. Um, it's very interesting too because what does this mean for Chicago for the rest of the offseason? Because they still have $30 million, just shy of $200,000 shy of $31 million. Obviously, their big ticket is Connor Bedard. They're not giving him 30 million. They can't even. But let's say they give him 15 million, 14 million, 13 million. Like, what is the case there? They're still going to have like $15 million minimum to work with. They do have to sign Kevin Korchinski and Ethan Del Mastro, but when that's all said and done, You could probably say they'll still have $10 million. What do they do with that $10 million? What do they do with, you know, the rest of their picks that they have in this draft? They have three first round picks next year in 2027. Do they move on from them? Do they wait a year to move on from them? What do they do? They have two second round picks. What do they make trades? Do they make signings? The free agency market is kind of weak. It's going to be really interesting. I'm interested to see what Chicago does. I'm very interested to see what Buffalo does too. This is going to be really interesting for Buffalo because they're a team that just made the playoffs. They just signed Zach Benson. Now they have the fourth overall pick. Do they pick with that pick? Do they trade that pick? Who knows? We've talked about it with Eklund in San Jose. Does San Jose trade those picks? The expectation is they should trade those picks. Does Buffalo trade the fourth overall pick? Do they look at someone and they say, wow, we can probably get a player who can be an elite player for us for many, many years? We still have Darlene and Power and Matthias Samuelson. Like, what's the thought process here? Do they make moves? It's going to be very interesting. And they only have to sign really Peyton Krebs this year. They still have $13 million. So it's going to be really interesting what Buffalo does. And it's going to be really interesting to see what Chicago does. It's disappointing that Buffalo had to trade away their second best defenseman. Um, but they did get a fourth overall pick for it. And they also got Luis Crevier, who's probably going to be an NHL player for them next year. For Chicago, it's great that they got a defenseman who can be alongside this decor for years. The only hiccup with that is that he is going to be a free agent next year. I do believe that deal expires as a um, restricted free agency, though. Let's take a look here. It actually doesn't. He becomes an unrestricted free agent next year. I'm that's they got to sign him to extension soon. Unrestricted free agent next year. They have to sign him. This could be a really bad trade for Chicago come a year from now if Bowen Byram doesn't want to stay in Chicago. They got to get it down. It's risky, it's overvalued, but they have a guy who can be a good player for them. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. Maybe they'll share with another friend, favorite if that's still a thing. Thanks for watching.